field advantage this season, like the way they've been playing, as maybe what it's been in previous years. And maybe that's because the sample size is a little smaller with Drew Brees because Bridgewater was in for those 5 games. And they're going to make the playoffs, obviously. They would have to have some kind of real, total, borderline historical implosion to not make the playoffs. So, when you talk about home field, them or San Francisco, I don't see that as being the determining factor. And so Stephen A., I think win or lose, they're headed for the playoffs, and they will do what they were going to do in the playoffs anyway.
I disagree with you. I think it's a very big game, and I think that particularly with San Francisco following up a week from, 10 days? Yeah, 10 days later on December 8th to be exact. I think that's incredibly important. San Francisco's got 1 loss in the season. New Orleans has 2. You win this game, and then you beat San Francisco next week, and then all of a sudden you'd have the tiebreaker, assuming San Francisco would have beat Baltimore this weekend. So I think it's important for that reason. Secondly, and more importantly, even though being on their home turf in New Orleans doesn't seem to be as big of a factor as it's been in the past because they don't appear to be as formidable because the games have been so tough and everything, the flip side is they're certainly worse on the road. And so as a result of that, when you look at their road performances, I'm not saying that record-wise that tells you the case because they're winning games, but being on the road without the hostile confines of the Mercedes-Benz Dome at your disposal, I think it's something that could work in the decided fashion against the Saints this year more so than years previously or before. You're not going to Los Angeles if you lose home field advantage. You're going to Lambeau Field potentially. That's freezing temperatures. I don't think New Orleans wants any part of that to be outdoors. Mm-hmm. You're also, I don't know if y'all have paid attention. Have you seen these crowds in Santa Clara? Have you seen these crowds showing up for the San Francisco 49ers games?
Yeah, of course.
These people are loud as hell and raucous. It's a real home field advantage. They are inspired by this team, especially what you've seen this defense led by Nick Bosa and Bruckner and the crew throwing at you because they want you to get at the quarterback. They want you to wreak havoc. They're loving what they're seeing defensively. So if I'm the New Orleans Saints, I'm looking at the possibility of being at Lambeau Field or in Northern California come January. I don't like those prospects, so I think this game is important, just like next week's game is going to be very important. This game diminishes in its level of importance if you lose to Atlanta, but San Francisco beats Baltimore this weekend because then you'd be 2 games back, and that's it. I think you win the day, and you keep the pressure on San Francisco.
Well, of course you want to win.
Well, I'm not saying they don't want to win. I'm just talking about in terms of its importance.
I think it's absolutely important for them to try to get home field advantage as much as possible. I think, and to be quite honest with you, I think this year's team, even at home, isn't as strong as it was last year. Yeah. Last year, it just seemed like if you went to the Superdome, you weren't going to win. That's how much it just seemed like that home crowd, them playing in front of that home crowd, how much of an advantage it was. But we saw what the Carolina Panthers did last week.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think home field is as big.
I saw a stat on SportsCenter that they're the most penalized team over the last 3 weeks, and it was the Browns. And we were talking about the Browns initially. They were a laughingstock. They were a hot mess. They kind of got it together. What's the deal with that in this team? Because that's uncharacteristic of them.
Yeah, usually people associate penalties with coaching because it's, discipline, pre-snap penalties, all those type of things. Those are things you can control. And those things tend to come back to bite you at critical moments. So I'm sure Sean Payton knows about that the last few weeks and is trying to address it. But when I look at the NFC, Minnesota could go in there and win the way Minnesota's been playing. Green Bay Pack, to me, the NFC is open. There's not one. I know the San Francisco 49ers is balling, but between the 49ers, the Seahawks, the Green Bay Packers, the Minnesota Vikings,
and the Cowboys. The Cowboys could get hot.
I don't think any one of those teams would be scared to go into the Superdome and go out and come out of there with the win.
That's what I mean.
It's not like last year. Last year, with the New Orleans Saints playing down in Louisiana in the Superdome, they seem unbeatable.
Right. So therefore, home field is not as important this year for them as years past. That's what I'm saying. It just doesn't feel the same to me. It feels like you could go in and beat them.
Yeah, but can they go on the road?
Right, you talking about the Green Bay.
Yeah. I'm talking about I don't think New Orleans has a snowball's chance in hell to be at Lambeau Field in January. I just think that when you're, and it's just a pet peeve I have. If you're a dome team and you go on the road in inclement weather,
in the winter.
it's usually a disadvantage. We've seen exceptions, don't get me wrong, but for the most part, you're a dome team and you got to go on the road in January, particularly the confines like Lambeau Field. And oh, by the way, that's why I'm no fan of Northern California. It's cold there. It gets very, very cold.
But look, if the Niners.
I don't like it at all.
If
it's
the
like
Niners-
New Orleans is a healthy team right now, though. I'll give them
There's no
that.
difference.
Yes.
They're all healthy.
In California,
I got
there's
my eye
a
on
problem
the
with
Niners.
that.
If the
So
Niners
you
beat
need
the
Southern
Ravens,
California,
where they
yeah.
play New Orleans ain't going to
Southern
make a difference.
California
They're
weather's
going to beat
warm.
them.
Yeah.
Northern California, the weather's cold.
Also, I just want to mention this for Atlanta. Julio Jones is dealing with a shoulder. I mean, obviously, I'm sure he's questionable. He probably
It's a big
will
loss.
still play today,
It's a
and they
big
don't
problem.
have their tight end, Austin Hooper, as well.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we'll see.
Exactly.
All right. AD has a big return to the Big Easy, but find out why the bigger story was Kyrie not showing up to face the Celtics in Boston. Was he ducking? And no one has been able to slow down Captain LaMarvel this season, but find out why that will change on Sunday. That game is going to be crazy. Don't go anywhere. It's First Take.
Don't miss a huge Football Friday on First Take. We'll have full reaction to the Cowboys' huge matchup against the Buffalo Bills, plus a preview of Action Jackson taking on the 10-win 49ers. And Tim Tebow joins us with his picks on rivalry weekend in college football. All that and more tomorrow, right here on First Take.